Hello, good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on where you are calling in from. Thank you for joining us in our here the Native American Credit Union Coalition presentation, and we'll do a quick introductions of the folks that'll be presenting today, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the presentation. We will have some opportunity to ask questions throughout. And then towards the end, we'll make sure that we do set up enough time. So if you do have any questions towards the end, looks like we have quite a few folks joining us today. So this is very exciting. You're more than welcome to jump in and add in who you are and where you're calling from. Looks like we have somebody checking in from Portland. Hello, Rona, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us. So real quick introductions. My name is Grant Echohawk. I am a member of the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma, but by a series of really spectacular events, I was born and raised in Alaska. There's not a whole lot of Pawnees that made their way up to Alaska. I happen to be one of them, so I'm one of the few Pawnees that really enjoy herring eggs and clams and lots of seafood. So I'm a bit of an anomaly. Every time I go back to Oklahoma, I always bring some salmon and some herring or whatever I have access to me. I will be I won't be one of the main presenters. I'll be mainly running the slideshow and possibly asking some questions at the end. But I also have with me Denise, Diane, and Jade, and I'll let them do some quick introductions.
Hello, I'm Diane Sandoval-Griego. I'm with Guadalupe Credit Union in New Mexico. Thanks for coming.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. I'm Denise Hudson. I'm the AVP of Consumer Lending at Tongass Federal Credit Union. I've been at my credit union for about 17 years. I'm also a tribal member of the Metlakatla Indian community. That makes this work feel really close to home for me, and we'll be sharing a little bit more about our story in our community. Thank you.
Oh, and it looks like Jade. All right. Jade, can you hear us okay? Oh, we might be having some technical difficulties with Jade, so I'll do a quick introduction for her. So also for Metlakatla, we have Jade Jordan. She's also with Tongass Federal Credit Union and a member of the Tsimshian Nation of Metlakatla Indian Community. So we'll see if yeah, looks like she's still. Looks like her audio might be giving her some problems. So we'll go and get started. Denise, do you want to just check in with Jade as we get started, just to make sure that she can add in with her portion?
Can anyone hear me?
Oh, there she is. Hey, Jade.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Zoom connected everything but the audio at the last second. So sorry.
Oh, no problem. I just did a quick introduction of you. If you just wanted to do a quick blurb on you, introduce yourself to the participants and those joining in, then we'll get started.
Thank you. Jade Jordan Dewayu, Tongass Federal Wafdala, and Metlakatla Duawatku. My name is Jade Jordan, and Tongass Federal Credit Union is my house of money. And I come from Metlakatla, Alaska, just like Denise does. And I'm excited to be here today. Thank you all for joining.
All right, thank you very much, Jade. All right, so again, thank you to everybody that's joined us this morning or afternoon, depending where you're at. Here in Alaska, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. This is a presentation by the Native American Credit Union Coalition, and just some brief history. The Native American Credit Union Coalition was formed with a singular purpose of trying to create an environment where our Native American Indigenous communities can have greater access to financial services and be able to take those financial services, build a strong economy, build prosperity within the communities. So this presentation kind of speaks to the philosophy around that and what we're trying to accomplish as a collective of folks around the country who are trying to build out and create those opportunities for our communities. So the name of the presentation is Where Culture Meets Community, Credit Unions and Indigenous Financial Well-Being. So I'm going to go and get the slideshow started, and I believe Diane is our first presenter. So let me know if the slideshow changed. If we're looking good, then go and take it away, Diane.
Thanks, Grant. Appreciate it. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate your support for our coalition, the curiosity you have to learn more about our initiatives and different ways on how credit unions can support Indigenous communities all around the country. I want to talk to you a little bit about Guadalupe Credit Union's approach. Keep in mind that every credit union should really take a look through their own lens about how to approach serving sovereign nations and Indigenous communities throughout their area. Guadalupe Credit Union serves the 7 northern counties of New Mexico, and our statewide demographics do have Indigenous nations long throughout our history, and we are very aware of protecting those identities and cultures and making sure that we do all we can to preserve our history. When our credit union started thinking about how to partner with tribal communities, one of the first things we knew right away was that to build trust. It's not just the products and services. We all, as credit unions and banks, have similar stuff. What we really wanted to know, though, is did they trust us and did we trust ourselves to serve everything that we were planning to do? And I think having that moment to just reflect and kind of analyze what your current offerings are and how you're delivering those is really the first step to understanding, like, are you doing all you can with what you have? There are products and services out there that can be specific to certain demographics, but that trust factor really opens the door and states as a credit union how you are planning to build those partnerships. One of the ways that we did that was through cultural sensitivity training. I myself, I have technically 3 mentors I work with through different tribal communities, and I listen to them. I make sure that that I take their feedback very well. They gave me training on, well, I can honestly say on how I self-identify and how I communicate my own demographics and my own experiences, how I can do that more effectively and give a broader understanding of my own experiences. Some things that might be uncomfortable or conversations that might not be appropriate, those kinds of things are very important to learn early on. You don't want to offend anyone. You don't want to sound like a know-it-all. Those kinds of things happen often, especially around our area. And sometimes people just come and go and give us ideas, and that's great too. But I think that the one thing that we can all do better at is just listening and understanding another person's point of view. And I honestly can say credit unions are really good at this. And I hope that that you show some courage and curiosity that we all are people, we're all human, and we all have journeys of our own. And so I can honestly say the credit union people helping people philosophy fits this very well. At Guadalupe, we also wanted to know like where our branches were at, how we were serving folks, and like even just what was going on in our landscape, what was happening. And so we did a lot of work on just research and understanding and making sure that we were, you know, aware of what we were getting into. Grant, go ahead and switch to the next slide, please. As you can see, this beautiful photo, we have spring approaching us right now, but we're big in New Mexico around agriculture. We have a lot of rural areas, and so some of our approaches might be a little different than yours. It kind of depends on the demographics of your area and access to services. But I think you should always highlight the beauty of your state, the beauty of your communities. There's so much to be appreciative for, and I think that when we speak highly of each other and ourselves, that we just give other people the opportunity to do the same. As I mentioned, we're very multicultural. I am here from northern New Mexico. We have a long history here. I have a Indigenous and Spanish background. I wasn't raised with my Indigenous side, but I am learning more about that and trying to understand a little bit about how my family kind of lost part of that history. With that being said, we have a lot of different types of incoming groups and some of historic populations. So like for my personal example, my family's been here a long time, so we've seen a lot of different impacts to our state and our area. But we also are close to our Mexican border, and we have incoming populations, even with some of the natural disasters happening in our nation. We're getting a lot of folks from other states. And so our landscape is continually changing, and we not only appreciate that, but we try to highlight the beauty of our area, make sure that we're respecting our traditions and all of that, but while still welcoming incoming populations. So protecting traditions and identity, that's really important here in our state of New Mexico. Since we have a long history, we try to protect that, and you can hear that from our legislative moves to our, even our film industry. There's a lot of stuff that happens in order to make sure that we respect our history and our culture. Another thing is just trying to identify gaps in services. We did a lot of research about like, well, what were we offering? What could we do that could help people take advantage of more of our products and services? And a lot of that came with the response to financial coaching. When we started offering classes in our community, we did meetings with our community partners early on and designed the curriculum with them and didn't go in with our own curriculum. And I think that's really important for us as part of a listening partner, is to include the groups that were sharing their space with us, to allow them to speak as well, because they have certain perspectives. And this isn't just for Indigenous communities. I think this is for any ally or partner that you might be working with. Like if you're working in conjunction with another group, make sure that that information aligns with both of your initiatives so that it's successful all around. I encourage all credit unions just to look at your own demographic areas and ways to serve tribal communities. During some of my research, I think we said this during our last presentation, was there's 574 federally recognized tribes. However, there's still 400 that aren't recognized. So even in our area of New Mexico, we have a community that isn't federally recognized, but still is a big part of our Abiquiu area. And so you kind of pay attention to those things. Just because they may not show up on the federally recognized list does not mean that they're still not part of your community. So just a tip, kind of do the research in your own area before venturing out, and just kind of do some understanding and curiosity when you're looking into these areas. You might already be familiar with them. Like with myself, I have family and friends that are all over the northern part of my state. And so doing that kind of research isn't always that hard. But for some of us that might be entering new territories, maybe are opening new branches, these kinds of discussions are really important, and having that process in the right order is also very important. Grant, next slide, please. These are different ways to learn about the community. As you've heard me speak, the research the area, really what are the community needs? Listen to your local leaders and members. Understand the cultural values and the traditions. I think Jade did an excellent job during our last presentation about aligning financial education, and there's a lot to learn in that space. Identifying financial gaps that your credit union can address. For instance, with us, when we were aligning some of our financial coaching curriculum, we actually worked with the housing office at our Taos Pueblo, and once we designed the curriculum, we held the classes there at their housing community office. This encouraged more people to take advantage. There was more questions even when we weren't there. More people were going to the housing office asking if they could even do stuff like rehabilitation loans, adding on handicap accessibility, those kinds of things. So you never know what you might get, even though you're just starting off with a regular housing class. Other questions and other situations might arise, and it's always good to be available. And you might learn about some other financial needs in that process. Another thing we find is location matters and serving members where they are. At Guadalupe, we do have 3 northern branches that are in rural areas. One of them actually just has an ATM, doesn't have cash. And we're very active with our financial coaching classes, actually going out into the community. We hold very few, if any, within our home, our shops, but we really would rather serve people where they're at. And so there's different ways to learn about it. If you really want some ideas or you want to ask more questions offline, I'm more than happy to help with this area. I think that as community members are venturing out, sometimes it can be a little intimidating, but don't be afraid. I encourage you to have some courageous attitudes towards this. Next slide. All right. And this, I really just want to really harp on. I was part of another group locally, and the discussion really revolved around representation matters. And we really do want Indigenous voices in our leadership. And, you know, as we grow and go this coalition, I hope to recruit more folks from Indigenous backgrounds and leadership positions. At Guadalupe, we saw a direct need to have representation on our board and supervisory committees, and we saw a difference right away, like just the feedback, the comfortable attitude, information free-flowing, like just the communication was much better, and we felt much more in line with what we were trying to do. And so if you're seeking to venture down this way, please keep this in mind, that representation matters. And if you really want to make movement in any area, regardless if it's Indigenous, African American, any other groups, please keep in mind that having those voices right there at the leadership tables do matter. It also shows that it's authentic. You know, we're not deciding for others, but we're giving people a voice to decide for themselves. And that's what credit union's democratic design was meant to do. So I think that even our credit union will continue to push those efforts to make sure that representation remains. And I know this, I'll let Jade speak a little on this, but they probably have a better success rate there at Tongass with this initiative. So Jade, I'm going to pass it on to you, and please carry the torch.
Thank you, Diane. I definitely have to agree with Diane in everything that Guadalupe has had success in. We've had similar success, and she's absolutely right. It's about taking the style and making it matter where you're serving. So you'll see that TFCU also was interested in a local advisory board. So branching out to Metlakatla, this happened about 20 years ago when another financial institution pulled their branch out of our community. So we were left without any financial institution. And so the leaders of Metlakatla went and saw the leaders of TFCU, asked for a branch within our community. And we built from there. We started offering services in their council chambers office, and we found local advisory board members. We looked for people to volunteer their time and their ideas for how to make this branch in their community relevant and successful. It gave opportunities for community leaders to directly chime in as we were building up. And it allowed TFCU in turn to design services that were based off of the needs that were expressed from these local advisory board members. So examples of what we've done is they let us know that utility payments were not convenient to make. In order to make a utility payment, you had to drive about 5 miles out of town to the office where it was located at. And so at the time we said, okay, we can start accepting payments at our branch. And we set up an account to specifically accept payments from our mutual customers, our members. And it streamlined that for them. It was a service that benefited them, and it got us more business. They also expressed that there was no local tax help. So in order to get to a paid tax preparer, you would need to take the day off of work. You would need to go to the next town, which is 15 miles away. And you would need to take a float plane or a ferry ride. There's expenses involved in just getting a tax return prepared. And TFCU's answer was, okay, we will get ourselves certified to do a volunteer income tax assistant program. And it started out with some of the leadership members coming over to do it in person. And for the last 5 years, we've actually been doing it remote with the same amount of people that we help. Actually, I want to say the average is about 25 households per round, and we have 2 rounds per year. And the average direct deposit tax returns are about $50,000 worth. Aside from that, we've also found a way to help our fishermen with their financing, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth about in a moment. But essentially, we created a policy in order to accept their fish tickets as income proof. So fish tickets tell you how much the fisherman made by selling the fish, and we can take an annual amount and qualify them for a loan, even though they typically only work 5 to 7 months out of the year on the water. And again, going back to what Diane was mentioning about cultural identity, as you can see in this bottom photo here, there's a sign that says Tongass Federal Credit Union, and there is a form line, native Northwest Coast form line design that is called the Spirit of the Tongass. And this was an idea that was formed and out of speaking with our local advisory board. Essentially, they said that we want to see ourselves, you know, when we come to this place, and that's exactly how it happened. Our members come in and they see this logo in places, and it really feels like something of our own. Can we go to the next slide, Grant? And similar to Guadalupe, we really care about community-focused financial education. So just last week, we hosted a reality fair, a Get Real reality fair for the junior and senior high school classes. So between the 2 classes, there's about 40, 45 kids. We're a pretty small community, so that's why we combined them. But they get this real life picture of what going out into the real world looks like before they graduate. And shown in the picture here, we also participate in other community events. So annually we get an invitation from the local service unit, that's our clinic, and they host a health fair, and they recognize the importance of your financial health. And so we get an invitation, and we're out there making sure people know that we offer lots of free services for our members here, what the services look like, and who we are here to help. The other cool thing is that we have 3 certified financial counselors, and for a team of 6, I just believe that is phenomenal. That shows the dedication of the people on my team and how they want to further spread the financial education and wealth in our community. And we also have outreach for high schoolers beyond just going into the classrooms and providing education. We also hosted an intern for a day, which was really nice. We were able to give them a full day of what it looks like to work in the financial industry. They came from 8:30 to 5:30, and they saw everything from vault work to teller work to ATM work. It was very well-rounded, and there's a lot of relevant specific services that we've tailored to serve the tribal community. I'd like to invite Denise to chime in on some of this.
Thank you, Jade. So next I wanted to talk about investing in local talent. So we're not just offering just services to the community. We're really growing talent from within it. We hire locally whenever possible, and most of our current staff were raised in the community that they now serve. So when members walk into the branch and they see someone they know, someone who understands their life and their culture, it really changes the way that they interact with their financial services and with TFCU. And I really feel like this kind of connection helps to build long-term relationships, and it's not just transactions. And I feel like that truly moves the needle on financial well-being. You could see that both Jade and I have been with our credit union for over 10 years each, and our credit union has really invested in us to help us succeed and to help our credit union succeed within our community. For culturally attuned lending, what you've already heard from Diane and Jade, it really sets the stage for what I wanted to share for lending, because that's what I like. Everything we do in lending, it really comes back to the same core principle about trust. So trust isn't something that we build by just offering the right loan product. It really comes from showing up, listening, and then actually responding to what we hear. Like Jade mentioned, the example that we shared earlier is how we lend to fishers in Metlakatla. In our community, many commercial fishers don't file taxes on their fishing income. And it's not because they're hiding income or anything like that. It's because they're not required to. So if we had stuck to a rigid policy that only accepts tax returns as proof of income, we would have really shut the door on a huge part of our local economy. Instead, we really chose to adapt. We accept fish tickets, and those are official records of their catch and sales, and we ask for a profit and loss statement showing their earnings versus expenses. And it gives us a financial picture of what we need while respecting the way that their income is structured. And that's what it looks like for us to align our lending practices with tribal realities. We're not lowering standards at all. We're just changing the lens so that it fits the community that we're serving. And our results are real. So our fishers who couldn't get a loan elsewhere, they're buying boats, they're fixing their gear, they're building stronger businesses. We've also used things like credit builder loans, secured credit cards, and consistent financial coaching from our financial coaches to help folks grow their credit from the ground up. And I want to echo something Diane mentioned earlier. Representation matters. A big reason this approach works is because the people making the lending decisions really understand the communities that we're serving. We hire locally, we train and promote from within, and our team members aren't outsiders. We all live in the same neighborhoods, shop at the same stores, and go to the same events, and that really builds the kind of trust that you can't fake. Next slide, please. So we've had some real results in Metlakatla. When we have this kind of intentional community-based work, it really has some great results. So in Metlakatla, the median credit score has increased by 74 points since Tongass has been in the community. That's a real dramatic shift. For comparison, the average credit score increase across the state during the same time was only 34 points. So we're seeing more than double the progress in our community that has really had less access to financial services. And really, this isn't just a number. A 74-point increase can really move someone from being denied a loan to being approved. It can lower their interest rate, improve their options, reduce their financial stress. It can help them get a car loan, a credit card, or even a home. And the results aren't accidental. They're the outcome of lending that respects how people actually live and earn. And by accepting the documentation that fits the local reality, and also by us using the credit building tools that meet members where they are, we can really make credit more accessible. And like I said, we're not relaxing any standards. We just updated our approach so it fits the community we serve. So many members of ours start with a credit builder loan or a secured credit card. Later, they're approved for a vehicle loan. And so others who have been denied in the past came back and were finally able to qualify. And that kind of growth really builds our members' confidence. It also shows that members are using credit responsibly and really making real progress. But it's not just about the scores either. It's there's more trust in our branch. Members are asking more questions. They're coming to talk to us about goals. They come to talk to us if they suspect that they've just gotten a scam email. They come to us for all the situations. And when our service reflects the culture and values of our community, our people feel a real sense of ownership. They really do feel like they're owners of the credit union. So it's just not a credit union in Metlakatla. This is their credit union. But the credit score increase is just one piece of proof. The bigger impact is what we see in the day-to-day. Our members are more confident. They're proud of their progress. And they also refer their friends and family in as well. And that kind of momentum really helps us build long-term financial strength across our entire community. But this kind of change, it's only possible when we listen first, respond with care, and commit to serving in a way that's really rooted in culture and community. Next slide, please. And I think, Grant, you are taking it away.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you very much, Denise, Diane, and Jade. Just as I just want to do a quick recap, and then if there are any questions towards the end, we'll open up the floor for some questions as well. There was maybe a couple of items that I wanted to kind of expand on, depending on how much time that we have. So some of the things that we talked about was trust built through respect and responsiveness, and ensuring that if any type of engagement with our tribal communities, with our Indigenous communities, respect is just really an integral part of the culture, and understanding the community, making sure that you're going in not with the mindset of I'm going to show you what I can do, but more of a willing to listen and say, what can we do to help? How can we best serve your community? Making sure that you're coming from that position of listening and understanding, making sure that you understand the local knowledge and cater to local solutions, cater your solutions specific to the community, because a lot of our Indigenous communities do have unique needs, unique characteristics that have been outlined in a couple different places here in the presentation. And identifying tangible progress in financial health and empowerment. I think that the credit score increase of 74 points out of Metlakatla is absolutely incredible. And being able to track that progress and having those engagements and those conversations with the communities to help highlight the progress of financial health and financial wellness and how that does benefit the community as a whole. And then this takes intentional time and partnership. Again, going back to to take the time to get to know the community, take the time to get to know the community leaders, take the time to get to know what's important, and then build programs around that. That Denise talked about how building finding employees and workers within the community and building from there. Sometimes that can be difficult depending on your location, depending on the services. So if you wherever possible, work with folks from the community. But if it just your particular organization cannot facilitate that at the moment, then make sure that whoever is going to be working with with our Native communities, that they are taking the time to get to know the community and putting in that effort. And then when we listen, honor, invest in our tribal communities, we grow together. So it's really important within our communities that it very much is a cultural, I believe a cultural mindset is everybody rises together. And that is the goal, that is the point. That when one of us succeeds, all of us succeed. And keeping that in mind, because sometimes that's can be a little bit sometimes a little bit different than sometimes what's heard outside of our Native community. So making sure that you zero in on that is a lot of times going to be very important. And then so again, this is a great time. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. I'm gonna go and end the slideshow presentation so I can see more of the screen. And hold on, let me stop share real quick. And okay, so if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. Again, thank you very much to Denise, Diane, and Jade. And if there aren't any pressing questions, I do have a couple of things that I was going to expand on with a little bit of time that we have left. And again,
Grant.
thank you everybody for joining. It's a great. I love seeing where everybody's coming from.
Grant, I forgot to mention one statistic I did have that I should have mentioned, but our most common loans to our tribal communities is for transportation. So in our area, we're in rural areas, transportation is a big need. And so you might already be doing some of this stuff, and car loans we all do, right? So just think you're already part of the way there. I don't have any boats for my friends at Tongass, but I'll work on that. I just want to say something that maybe I should have said earlier. Like anytime you're venturing into a new community or a new area, approach it with a mindset of learning, and things can come at you different ways. So if you really just have questions and you're kind of afraid to ask, there's those of us on the call in the coalition that are happy to help and maybe just give you some guidance or some resources. Really, we're trying to make it a more comfortable space for credit union people to just learn. And so if you really have something that you just feel uncomfortable asking in a public setting, we get it. We really do. And please reach out to us. I put my email in the Dropbox there. I'm happy to do something offline. So I just want people to just be aware that we're here to help as well. So if you have questions, we're not just here for the presentations, but we're happy to answer offline.
Perfect, thank you. And also, just in case anybody does have to leave before the end of the meeting, be sure to join us on Facebook, the Native American Credit Union Coalition. We do have a page that keeps everybody updated on things we've been working on and the progress, as well as at LinkedIn. You'll find us there as well. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to highlight before we leave this morning. Is we did talk about how listening to our local leaders, connecting with with the communities, making sure that representation is that we do have representation. I had a question about about ways that that you can engage the youth, the younger folks, and kind of we talk about building a workforce from the community, advisory boards from the community. Uh, but part of that would be with that youth engagement and ensuring that they are financially minded and they have the mindset to serve their community in this way. So I'd love to hear any examples of youth engagement from either Guadalupe or Tongass.
I can go first. I know Jade talked about reality fairs. We love our reality fairs. We actually modified our reality fair program to fit jobs that were common to our area, and jobs that were like right out of high school. So the original curriculum, when we purchased it, just didn't reflect our area. They were giving jobs for like doctors and stuff, which is great. I'm not saying it's bad, but really, a lot of our students were already kind of working and helping support their families, even while they were in school. And so we kind of needed a more realistic view on the jobs that were focused in our area. So we modified all our reality fair materials to reflect New Mexico's industry. We also partnered with Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, and they do hire students during certain seasons to like do forestry work, fix the trails, things like that. And so we would teach financial education at those sessions as well, so that they knew how to deposit their checks and how to manage their income. And that was a great door, because it wasn't, how do I say, the traditional avenue of like finding financial education. We kind of were included in with their program, and that was a great way to get our foot in the door. We also have a program called Maria's Market, which is like a grocery shopping experience for younger kids, and those are in our elementary groups. And so what we're hoping is our kids will see us in the schools consistently and maybe get tired of us over the years. But what we hope is that they're in different stages of their growth receiving financial education. Right now during Youth Month, the month of April, we're reading in the classrooms to our kids. And so we're pretty active with the youth. I think if you don't have good programs with the youth, then your other programs might lose a little bit of traction. I think it has to be all or some, but you can't do it without.
I think I'll speak on two things. One is TFCU has a very similar approach, at least with the success in my community. I want to say I go in from about kindergarten through second grade, and we're just like, this is what money is. We're showing them actual money, and we're talking about how much each piece of money is, what denominations are like for spending money. And as they get older, like say third through fifth grade, we're talking about short and long-term goals. We're talking about how you don't have to be a grown-up to earn money. So that way, by the time we hit their middle school years, we're introducing some little bit scarier words like budgeting and credit and compound interest, but and fraud. Kids are on the TikTok right now. And so we need to teach them what to watch out for. And I think that by the time they reach their senior year, we've talked so much about all those similar things that I actually get probably half of each senior class coming to follow up with me after graduation. They're interested in credit building options. They're interested in what do I take a step to do next. And yeah, I think staying involved keeps them interested at all those different stages. It's something that the services committee for the NACUC is striving to offer. So it's not prepared yet, but we envision having a library available to all members. And if you get invited to the fourth grade and you want to talk about savings, you should be able to jump into our library and find something relevant that you don't have to create to go into one of those classrooms. So stay tuned. It's not ready yet, but it will be ready soon.
That's great. Thank you, Jade, and thank you, Diane.
I
Another,
wanted to add to, oh, sorry,
go ahead.
Grant. I wanted
Yep,
to
go ahead.
add to that a little bit. We really did put a lot of thought into how we connect with younger members of the community. And one of the biggest things that we found is that it really starts with showing up early. We don't wait for youth to walk through the door. We go to them. Jade goes in, like she mentioned, she goes into the classrooms several times a month. She's at community events. Actually, she is double booked today. She's working at a community health fair to bring awareness to people's financial health, and really just staying visible within our community, and that makes us more approachable in our own towns. But one of my favorite examples of getting students involved early, or youth involved early, is a student I taught at the high school a few years back. I went to the classroom and I went for, I think it was a month, once a week for a month. And I went to the classroom and I explained to the senior students how credit scores work, how to build good habits, and why it matters. And now that student actually works at the credit union. And so I'm really proud to say she's doing great. She has a really solid credit score, thanks to myself. I'm just kidding. She did a lot of hard work, but that's really the kind of full circle moment we really like to see. Um, it's not about hiring, it's about helping young people build financial confidence early and then welcoming them to the credit union world when they're ready. We really want to make sure that they understand what the credit union is, that it's member owned, that they own it. And when we build those relationships early, it really opens the door to everything else. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Another question I had, I was curious on the uh, making sure that we're just to expand on the culturally attuned financing and being creative with our, as I think Denise, you mentioned a couple of times, you didn't lower your standard, you just made your standard suit the community that you were serving. And I was curious, if those decisions could be made in-house, or if you needed to get another entity involved, and kind of some of those steps to ensure that you were meeting the community where they needed from a logistical standpoint. So do you mind kind of going over that with us real quick, Denise?
Yes. So the decision to start accepting the fish tickets, it was driven by our leadership seeing a need and acting quickly to meet it. One of the benefits of being a smaller credit union is that we could be scrappy. We don't have layers of bureaucracy slowing us down. So when our team sees something that's keeping members from getting the help they need, we can pivot really quickly. So in this case, our leadership recognized that commercial fishing was a major source of income in Metlakatla, but it wasn't really being captured by traditional documentation methods, like through tax returns, because the fishers in Metlakatla aren't required to file taxes on that income. So, like I said, if we stuck to tax returns and pay stubs, we're unintentionally leaving out a big part of our community. And so we asked, what documentation do fishers already use? And the answer was fish tickets. And like I said, these are official records that show what's caught, who bought it, and how much was paid to the fishermen and women. And they're accurate and they're really well understood within the fishing industry. From there, we just created a simple policy. We would accept fish tickets as proof of income as long as they were paired with a basic profit and loss statement. We didn't need to go to like the NCUA or get any special approval. We just built an internal process that made sense and held up to sound underwriting. And our team built guidelines and made sure our staff understood how to review the documents. And the result really has been exactly what we hoped for. Members who have never been able to qualify for a loan, they were getting approved. They're buying boats, repairing equipment, buying houses, and they're doing it because we built this with them in mind. And this is a great example of what culturally attuned lending can look like. It's not just creating a one-time program. We recognized what was working in the community and built around it. And yeah, that we met people where they are with tools that fit their reality.
I think another similar thought to what you're saying, Denise, though, is how we accept tribal IDs. There's a hard time for getting to a tax preparer, so there's a hard time getting to a DMV office to keep a current state ID or a current driver license. And especially if you have a hard time physically already, you're going to have a hard time getting to the next town and making an appointment for that. However, our local office makes IDs that have all the same qualifications that another ID has and is therefore acceptable to open up a membership.
Right, thank you very much. And then the last question I had was, we talked about the importance of protecting tradition and identity, those core pieces of our Indigenous communities, the pieces that although a lot of our communities may be similar, we do have distinct differences between them. And we have great representation. We have folks from, I'm from Oklahoma. My family is originally from Oklahoma. We have New Mexico. We have Alaska. So I just wanted to kind of touch on maybe some of those unique characteristics and why is it so important to protect and those traditions and those cultural practices as an organization that's working within these communities. So any ideas or insights for those that are looking to engage with our Native communities and with recognition of how important that is?
I guess I'll start. Well, just for my area, I guess we've been through a lot and we did a lot to protect what we've maintained. And we just want to continue that. And just, I think of my family, I think of our beliefs and all the things that go with it. And I love it. I appreciate it. And I want to protect those things. And so I try to look at it from my own family's experiences. So just kind of, I think I'm sharing a little much. So I hope you all take some time with me right now. But my father was disabled. He was blind, and we experienced a lot of different challenges with just getting financial access, getting access for benefits, being able to read things, just having people kind of glaze over things when they were supposed to be explaining it a little bit more. And those kinds of things happen all the time. I don't know if people realize that, but it's not just for those that are disabled, but maybe those of us that don't speak English as well or have limited knowledge about financial education. So depending on what it could be that might be limiting my understanding of something, I just don't want it to be a barrier. So as a credit union, I always come in with that lens, like how is my father treated, and would I want that kind of experience for him? And so I think when you make it personal, it should be personal. I take it to heart. Like I want my members to be served just as well. If my mom comes in the door, I want that type of respect and care and concern taken for her. Fairness, truthfulness, the experience should always be good, especially if we're trying to make it feel like home. Does it really feel like home? And do we treat them like someone that should be respected and cared for? And so that's just my own personal experience, but I've been big on financial education for many years because of that. And even my own experience as a single mom, I had a really hard time getting a house, and and maybe it was my credit at that time, maybe it was my savings, maybe it was a little bit of some other things, but I felt very lonely and isolated when I couldn't get a loan, and nobody would explain to me what the problem was. I had to do a lot of my own research, and so maybe that's kind of where some of my my hope for protection of that. Even with my mentors that I'm working for, one of them is an advisor for our city of Santa Fe to protect our cultural activities that are around us. And so we seek advice from him regularly. I think we should be protecting our cultural identities, our communities, so that, yeah, it's great. We all want to work together, but we are different. I think Grant made a good point. Our identities are unique and we should treasure that.
Great, thank you. Denise or Jade, anything else you'd like to add?
I think as far as my experience in keeping things culturally relevant is the way that our credit union has supported not only in including our style of artwork, but we are a people of a dying language. We have about 15 fluent speakers left, and the more often we can incorporate the language, the better. And there are no barriers put up when I try. I mean, I give it a go, and my leadership is like, hey, that's great. Keep doing it. And some examples, when I introduced myself, we didn't have words for bank, we didn't have words for credit union. So Tongass Federal Wapdala actually means Tongass Federal House of Money. And we didn't have words for tellers. So my MSRs, my member service representatives, we would call them Amani Samdala, which means they are the caretakers of the money. And it keeps going. I mean, I have translations for save your money, which is just demot gadala. And there's just so much support in keeping it alive. As a matter of fact, I have some Shamalgik on our local ATMs. When you walk up to a local ATM, it says Slabasta scan, which is welcome. And their little receipt at the bottom will say Entoyakchen, which is thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
I did have one more thing to
Okay,
add,
go ahead. Yep.
because when we honor traditions, it's not really just about being respectful. We actually make our services more effective for our community. So when a member sees their language, like Jade says, on the ATMs and in our signage, when they see their stories and their practices reflected in how we operate, our community is more likely to engage. They're more likely to trust us, and they're more likely to see the credit union as a place where they really belong. And this matters in the long term too, because protecting traditions ensures that future generations can grow up with that same sense of identity and belonging. And they learn that financial wellness doesn't come at the expense of their cultural values, and the two can and really should work together. And at the credit union, we really try to reflect that in everything we do. Like I said, like Jade said, in our signage, in our staffing, in our lending policies. We really want our members to walk in and feel like they don't have to explain who they are to us. They could just be themselves and served with respect.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, everybody, thank you for joining. And as Jade, Diane, and Denise had mentioned, if you have any questions for any of us, feel free to reach out. Myself, like I said, I'm a member of the Pawnee Nation. I had the privilege of going to Haskell Indian Nations University, living in Arizona. One of my best friends was Don Otam, who lived in Seattle. So I got to know a lot of the coastal communities of the Pacific Northwest. Live in Alaska. So, and one thing that I've learned in my travels and working with a lot of different indigenous communities and nations is that there is a common thread, and that service to the community is a really big important piece of that. And if you can, if you want to serve if there are indigenous nations, native nations in your field of membership, just if we can help you make those connections. Any one of us is more than happy to, and feel free to reach out. So again, thank you very much for joining. This was a lot of fun, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.